You were on the same page.
Welcome back, everyone. We'll continue on where we left off. Anybody got any comment? Dave?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, come on.
Regardless of what kind of procedure we might want to run next year, I think we are in a position where we can discuss positions. Commissioners can chime in, but I think we're going to have to approve a budget and after the fact have the commissioners approve those additional positions that we might fund. But I understand the concern, I understand the procedure, but I think we need to move.
Move on?
Move on.
Move on.
Okay, we're moving on. We're going.
And I totally agree that this year, because of what has happened, we need to totally move on. But I do think that we, as Commissioner Brown had stated, we need to make a decision which way we do this so that we don't run into this in next year and the years after. Thank you.
Well, before we move on, the auditor has brought up on the maintenance on overtime. We've got a 5,000 plugged in, and we've had about $950. Any thoughts on that? That's overtime on maintenance? 1150. What?
Right now, take 3 off.
Take 3 off?
Yeah.
You can take 3 off, but it is in there in case of inclement weather.
$3? $3,000.
I'll take 3,000.
Take 3,000.
3,000.
Okay, any other points of interest? Okay, moving on to soil and water. Dr. Metzger?
Nothing.
We take.
We don't see any changes there.
Nothing changed in soil and water?
It's all employees.
All employees?
And one agency support, which has been the same amount for a number of years.
Okay, thank you. Department of Information Technology?
2 changes. 2110, I believe, Kent, weren't we taking that back to 1,000?
Take it back to 1,000?
What is the office supplies?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the professional services, the 3150 line, down to 4,400.
Yes.
All right. Got that, Bob?
Got it.
Okay, any other?
Good job.
That was quick.
Voter reg.
Okay, voter registration and elections. The president here?
Yeah, the part-time to 10,000.
Okay.
The election workers, again, Bob had flashed some numbers about reductions. As Krista can better explain, this thing goes in cycles, and not every year's elections is the same with primaries and fall elections. But we'll take the election workers to 6,000. Overtime, we're going to reduce that to 1,500. I know that's a big number, Krista, but after we talked with you and they said they put this together, we could get tolerable.
This is cool.
Postage, 3,230 to 2,000. Minor equipment, 3,730. Can go to 3,150.
That's what's
That's
in
what,
there.
that's what we have.
I marked it as a change, so forgive me. I'm just clarifying.
Seeing if we're awake.
It's a test. Just a test.
And election workers to 30, or election contracts to 3,190 to 30,000.
That's the 3955.
31.
3,190. I'm sorry, the order that was off the spreadsheet that I was working off of during our meetings was a different order than what the most recent one is.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
you went from 45 to 30, what?
45 to 30,
Where do you see 45? Oh, yeah, up here, I got it, sorry.
3190.
Other,
3190.
I'm down
Yeah.
lecture.
Ballot prep actually needs to stay about 45 because we are charged a per precinct rate. And although we might only have a contest in one city in the primary, we'll have to do all of the small towns in the fall.
So you're saying 30 isn't good?
I don't think 30 will do it, so.
Which line are you
Hang on,
referring
that's
to?
ballot prep.
Other
Ballot
professional
prep.
ballot prep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't suggest any change off of the
Okay.
45 on that one.
So
We thought you, what did you
to 30?
change? What did you change to
Are
30?
you saying 3955?
Election
Oh, I'm
workers.
sorry. So the spreadsheet I've got from the one we worked off of during our meetings, the assignment of 3190 to it says election contracts over here, and the one that you're looking at, the updated one Bob sent out, calls that over the professional ballot.
Ballot prep.
Ballot prep.
Okay, Krista, that was, so 3190 is been renamed from election contracts to other professional ballot prep, is that correct?
Well, that's just kind of what we'd used in the past, and I was trying to make it so we knew what we were talking about.
You guys are talking about the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying that needs to stay at 45?
Yes.
Stays at 45.
Would you have changed 3955?
No.
I need to change it back.
He said he changed that to 30.
So 3955 is the account that we pay those poll workers that we pay on contract, so those who aren't hired. The 1131 are those people who we hire or work for the county in another department. They're paid from that account. And then our part-timers that come and work in the office, they're paid out of the 1130
Okay.
account.
Something's not jiving, because this spreadsheet that you printed for us when we talked, and the spreadsheet I had that we worked off of when we talked, doesn't have a 3955 on it.
It was classified differently previously, so I didn't get updated.
So it's kind of hard to talk about then.
Well, that was budgeted this year for 52 and proposed at 35.
My question is, if you met with her, why weren't the two of us involved in that conversation? Why weren't we in that meeting also? Because this office is a three-person entity.
We scheduled our time with Krista, and we were there.
It should be scheduled with the entire election board, not just with Krista.
Okay. We'll not get into that fuss right now. Let's just get after these numbers. So, were we not to take the feedback from the clerk?
You are, but this office is a three-person
Okay.
entity,
Okay,
so she's only a member of the Board of Elections.
all right. So we are suggesting changes of 10,000, to take part-time to 10,000 from 12,600. When we looked back at prior elections, part-time has ranged from $1,120 in 2017 to $20,250 in 2016. So we felt and feel like this is similar to the election of 2015, which was 8320, so we bumped that to 10,000. Council have a problem with the 10,000 for part-time?
Sounds good.
Any comment on the part-time?
So it's not 7 now, right?
So
You
what
did cut it to 7, now you're
what
back
you
to
guys are
10.
essentially doing by taking money away from the part-time every year is we have to wait later and later for part-time people to come in. And when those part-time people come in, they have to work in SVRS because that's our busy time right before an election where people will register to vote. And so they have to process registrations in the SVRS hopper without much experience. which in the past has caused some errors where campaigns and individuals who would register and keep copies of everything that they did go back and check the work of those people, and so it didn't meet their expectations.
But you also have to remember, this is a municipal year, so you have to compare.
This is true also.
This is 2015, and I don't remember what the numbers were that.
8,300 was 2015. So that's a 20% increase over the last time we did this.
Okay.
Election workers. The last municipal was $4,000. We're recommending.
Coded differently.
Right. With that, election workers, the 1131 is the account that we pay those individuals that we have to hire. So anybody that makes over $600 has to be hired by the county. And so we pay those people, and then also those individuals that work for other departments in the county. That's where their pay comes from.
In overtime, no, I'm sorry, that's a different line item. That's a different line item. So in the last municipal, $4,000 was budgeted. This would be a 50% increase to $6,000 rather than a 300% increase to $12,000.
But those individuals used to get paid out of the $39.50 before it was reclassified. That $39.55 used to be used to pay more of the poll workers before it was reclassified and split up. Is that correct?
That's correct. I will say that several people who have worked elections in my office are planning this is their last year. So I think we'll have more and more external poll workers starting next year. And the trend has been that direction from county employees.
So where was $39.55 back in 2015? I don't, and again, what we were given doesn't have a $39.55 to relate to.
I don't remember what.
Change numbers. Well, I mean, then we went to one solution.
It should have been the election contracts, the 3190. Would have been the contract employees.
I apologize for this, gang. I didn't know we were going to get surprised like this. And it's hard to speak to, also because of the alignment of the line items has changed from what we discussed when we were in the meeting that we had with Krista. I would suggest rather than try to work all this out painfully in front of all of you right now, let's have a meeting with you guys and go through it line by line to make sure we've got it. But I'm really disappointed we didn't know about this till today.
Okay.
So we'll come back.
Okay, moving on, area plan. Area plan.
Yes. We have a couple changes. Line item 2140, computer supplies can go to 1,000. 3190, professional services / other will go to 500. And those are the only changes that we made. Correct, Sally?
Correct.
Thank you.
Right. That's correct. Anybody have any other comments or of this department?
Could you repeat those numbers again, please?
21-40 to 1,000, 31-90 to 500.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to building permits.
We have one change on building permits, and that's the account 32-10, travel and training / mileage. We're going to take that down to 2,500.
Oh, cool.
And things are going well with the new pickup trucks in the department, so.
Kevin, you want to talk about weights and measures?
No changes.
Veteran services is
Veteran
first.
services is
We
first,
got it
and there are
here.
no changes there either. In fact, the only changes there are just in the raises.
Oh, we went up. That's all right, we'll get it.
You can see everything else remains the same.
You want to do veterans?
Yeah, both.
Both, no changes.
Both, no changes.
All right.
Perfect.
Deanna, Tippecanoe Villa.
I didn't have any notes of any changes, Deanna, did we?
No.
John, did you have anything?
No, I wrote myself a note, but I can't read it. 83/84. Oh, that's your customers. No, gotcha. Never mind.
Yeah.
Any more discussion on that, Kevin?
No, I didn't have anything
We-
noted.
No.
What about the food?
What about the what?
The food? The food, it seems like.
The food is
Or
not any
55
good, or what?
I don't know, I never eat there, but
Oh, we never eat
they've
there?
used 55% of the money through the end of August. It is that.
The food?
Yeah. There's a $118,000 request, and we spent $67,000 through the end of August. 55% of, and she encumbered a little bit over, but
Yeah.
seems like it could be a little high.
118's high? What you're saying?
Well, that's what it looks like, numbers, if you just kind of
Yeah.
percent it out.
Or maybe it's the tariff on beans.
Deanna, is there any wiggle room on the food line?
What do you want to do about it?
You can probably take maybe 3 or 4 out of it, but I wouldn't go any more than that.
Just do 3.
115.
115?
Is that okay, Deanna?
Yeah, that's fine.
Cut it to 115? Thanks for the sacrifice.
It's actually been really high, that's why.
Okay, let's move out of there.
She's like, well,
Let's go with carry home.
Don't see Rebecca. Oh, there you are. Hiding behind.
Rebecca's here?
The change on 3140, but I don't have that amount.
3140.
3140?
40.
Oh,
Ooh.
Rebecca, could you explain the accreditation process?
Sure. So one of the things that's happening is a federal act called the Family First Prevention Act. It's going to be happening in 2019, and so because of that, in order for Department of Child Services to pay per diem to residential facilities for residential services and community-based services, those agencies have to be in compliance with the Family First Act. And in order to be in compliance with that, you have to be accredited. So part of the accreditation process is that you pay a lot of money to become accredited. And so that's where that request has increased in order to accommodate the $10,000 that it will cost to become accredited, and then an additional contractual services to line out the infrastructure that's required for accreditation.
So, and that will take up the entire 25,000
Yes.
before that?
additional.
Those two, yes.
Were you looking for another number, Dave? At
No, I had
3140?
written down 25,000, but that was just the increase.
The only other places that we have much of increases are in 3610 in building and repair and maintenance, and in dues and subscriptions, 3910. Do you have any specific maintenance?
Well, we have a 90-year-old building, so we have a lot of specific maintenance. And so, yeah.
Well,
so-
I mean, you have something in mind for the additional $5,000.
Swimming pool?
Yes, yes. No sauna, hot
swimming
tubs
pool.
today, no swimming pools, no. If you want to push the dues and subscriptions back to flatline 4,500, you can. Those are the only 3 categories that aren't flatlined the same as 2018.
Okay.
We just always build that in case they increase the dues and subscriptions for our, the only one that we hold. Okay.
All right, so 3910 to 4,500.
Place them unless you're certified facility.
The only other thing I see is the repairs, either
Yeah. if you
Either
wanna-
yes or no.
I mean, if you want to push that back, you can. We'll wiggle as we always do.
All right, well, let's make that 20 then, from 3610. And that's all the notes that I had. Your income is up and fairly steady?
I got an odd question.
Yes, sir.
Who reads $5,000 worth of subscriptions?
It's not subscriptions like magazines or annuals or information. It's our subscription to IARCA, which is the Indiana Association, well, it used to be, the Indiana Association of Residential Child Care Agencies. And so they don't really lobby, but they have our interest at the state level. They keep us informed of state level information. The accreditation piece, they're helping us through that. So it's that entire bulk amount gets paid to them annually.
Thanks for the explanation, Rebecca. Any other questions for Rebecca? Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Juvenile alternatives, you actually proposed a cut, right?
No, there wasn't anything.
No, in travel and training.
Oh, yes, yes.
Is already down 250, so I don't see any changes there at all.
Okay. We're all happy with that. Parks and Recreation, Mr. Nail.
You need me?
Yeah, sure.
Hiding behind the sheriff and the major. Good afternoon. Smile, everybody.
Can you
Life's
hear
short.
us back there? Can you hear us back there?
Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just didn't, I knew they had the numbers.
You just
and-
ignore-
No, I didn't mean that you didn't.
Yeah, I
Oh, no.
can hear fine.
Because I can't hear you, so. That's all right.
We added a position a month or two ago, right?
We did.
So that's included in the 514.
Full-time.
Added the new full-time, changed the one to full-time. Gas and oil, I think, as we discussed, we could take that back to 25,000.
Yes, Lord.
Billing insurance, 3410, cut to 32. Uh, 3510, obviously that's a gamble, but we'll take 2 off of that, 2,000 off of that line. And 3610, cut 1,000 off of that one.
Right.
And do we want to do anything on the part-time?
Yeah, we talked about dropping part-time down.
Yeah,
We could drop part-time down to 45.
cut that one to 45.
And let's see, your workers' comp, that's based on estimates from insurance company.
Right.
I don't see anything else in my numbers.
I got an observation here. Your 3510, your utilities is 117.5 is what you're asking for, and you're almost at 140,000 now if we keep going the way we are. So you cut it a couple thousand, did you? It's so unpredictable.
On utilities?
Yeah, you had 117,500 you're asking for.
Yeah, we're at the most recent budget report that I have here, which is, other than this week, what was turned in, we were at 71.6% expenditure. But we're also getting into a time of year, as we discussed, where we're not having to do a lot more air conditioning, and we haven't hit the heating season yet, so there's kind of a bell. It's not an even expenditure on
Gotcha.
utilities through the year.
Yeah, it's front-loaded
Okay,
because of the heat.
cool.
Thanks.
Didn't know if we were looking for a milder winter or what, but your
Oh, sure.
explanation.
If you can bring it, we'll
No.
always up
Just a
for that.
milder
No,
September.
woolly worms are out.
Okay. Any more questions for,
That's all that I have.
Black one.
any more questions for Park Rec? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
County Extension,
Okay, extension.
Dr. Underwood.
All right, here we go.
Extension.
Yes. Dave, did you have anything that we everything was pretty,
3190, we were going to recommend an increase to 212.
oh, yeah.
And so,
Karen, yes.
I'm welcome. So I want to first start off with, if Bob was to offer some training for budget, I would completely utilize that. So I did reach out to him throughout this because I was kind of thrown in the fire last year. I had a year to prepare for this, and yet I still made a mistake. So the professional services actually includes plowing or exterminator, other little monthly things that come up, and so that was not included in my calculations, and that's $3,000 for the year of those
So
types
that's
of.
the 212, 245.
So that's the increase of from 209 to 212.
212, do I need to add a 245 to it? 212, 245, or do 12?
I had in my notes that we were going to ask for a flat 3,000.
Okay.
So it would be 212, 245.
Because that includes the contract that we pay to Purdue.
Right,
Yes.
And
that's your,
then the additional 3,000 is for the
Yes.
keeping of the facility.
Any more thoughts?
And everything else is pretty well the same.
Yes, so I did ask for a little bit more in our part-time, but I was able to offset that with our decrease in postage, decrease in mileage, and decrease in professional training. So we've been able to eliminate a lot of the paper that's been going out of our office, and so I might even be able to come back next year and cut the postage a little bit more, but it's hard to say since we're just trying to get everybody on board with email in 2018.
It's a fact.
uphill struggle.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Donna?
We got fairgrounds first.
We have
Oh,
fairgrounds in there? Okay, we'll go to top of the, always work
I
the
messed
bottom
you
up.
up because I, the way it printed out, but.
Fairgrounds,
Andy had a 1 o'clock meeting, I know.
The only thing that we talked about, 2110 was, there was a new computer that he was looking at, their laptop to do things. I don't have anything down
That
that
was the
said
only
we were
one that
going to
really
cut.
increased.
That was,
I got,
that was the only, really, the only item that we increased.
why, we're $6,000 right now on maintenance and repair, and we plugged in 32,000. What, am I wrong?
Right here,
Well,
3610.
the 32,000 has been, well, historically, it's been about that, hasn't it?
Yeah, you can see 16, we were at 31.4.
We're tearing the place down.
Not exactly.
Well,
Well, there are still things you have to do.
so the first 6 months is,
Yeah, I don't have answers for this year.
I mean, in true retrospect, I think you could probably bring it down.
Probably could bring it down some.
Because what are the plans this year? Do we have
This year,
anything
really, none of the
specific?
buildings are changing.
Yes.
Right.
So
No.
we're
Still
still having to put up
need-
with them for at least one more year.
One more year.
Right.
Now, I mean, cheaper Band-Aids versus heavier Band-Aids, I don't know, but
Didn't you lose that much?
So that's the debate of how much we really could potentially
I'd say
pull out
if you
of
look at
that.
the past track record, you could probably easily take 2, 3 out there.
Yeah.
4.
Cut that to 28.
Sounds good.
I'm just confused, I guess, whatever.
Well, if something falls into a building, John, we're gonna have to deal with it.
Falls into it.
A
The
tree?
insurance. Well, I just brought
Yeah.
up the observation that we've spent not quite 6,000 in 6 months, and we budgeted 32,000. That's all.
Yeah,
Good question.
That seems,
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is, but that seems relatively low.
Compared to where we've typically been.
Yeah.
Hey, cool. What do we decide? 4?
Yes, got it to 28.
All right. Okay, any other observations? Donna, County Corner?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. I don't have any notes in terms of cuts, maybe some explanations.
Sure.
In terms of income, and I have notes, but I'll let you address that.
As far as income, many of the outlying counties that did utilize our facility, their council and commissioners felt that it was more cost-effective to establish their own. I have 4 counties currently coming in on a regular basis.
But you lost 3 big ones.
Yes, very big ones. And they needed to have their own facility, but by paying overtime for law enforcement and transferring the deceased, it just became too costly for them.
So the drop in income is because we're not doing as many outside autopsies?
Correct. We'll be doing 2 tomorrow from out of county.
This is the only department I don't like to mess with.
Thank you. You've always been my favorite.
Wait a minute.
That's not what you told us.
I don't want to tag on my toe. But
11:30 part-time, we've increased that from 30 to 50.
Right, I had
Where are we
requested.
going on that?
I would like to keep it that way. All of our part-timers, because I wasn't approved to have another full-time person, and I understand why, but all of our part-timers all do the same thing, whether it is moving the bodies, helping at autopsy, doing the cleaning. We do our own cleaning. Maintenance doesn't do it for us. And our clerical work. They are all cross-trained to do the same thing.
still talking about that? In the spirit of cooperation, that's a tough department to manage, I know that. But I'm just looking at a trend. It's so unpredictable. The autopsies, you're at about 160,000 per year, and you budgeted for 200. My question is, if that were dropped, I mean, you're going to come back, we're going to give it to you. I mean.
Well, but that, I do have in my notes that the June 30th amount at 79, whatever.
80,000.
Is 2 months behind.
You're 2 months behind.
Is that about right?
I'll yield.
The pathologist does not get billed or paid until I have the final autopsy and toxicology.
Got it.
So that's 4 months instead of 6 months.
Got it.
And granted, we are reactive more than, I would like to be more proactive, but there's just so much you can do.
All right. So we're all cool.
Yeah, so those numbers make
Okay,
sense.
so I guess if we have 3 big counties or 4 big counties that aren't going to utilize our services.
Where we are.
So where do we see the savings in our budget? In, is it autopsies, body bags? I look through here and I see everything is either the same or increased. So
And
where's the savings?
That's just for Tippecanoe County. If they use one of our body bags, we bill them $63.
So, and that's our cost? So
Yes.
they're paying our cost for that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Plus the regular fee. The pathologist now has to provide their own Deaners/pathology assistants. We no longer do that. I eliminated those 2 positions. And our population has increased,
Yeah, I don't want to mess
as do the problems that come with it.
All right, point well taken.
But you're still, with the 200,000, I mean, through August, you're 117. And
Right.
we're going to have a dickens of a time cutting this budget enough by having enough for people that probably they won't have to come back. I'm not sure we can keep doing that, but
I have
this
not
looks
been.
like it's too high, that you may have to come back and, that may be the
I
case.
may have to, but I hope not to. I have
Yeah,
not been before
yeah.
you this year.
But we're 58% used through 8 months.
Right, but if that's still 2 months behind in billing, that's only
Well, are you
6
always 2 months behind in billing? That doesn't make any difference.
Question on.
Right, because it'll bump into the next year anyway.
Yeah.
Bump into the next year?
I'm sorry, what?
Let's hear Shirley's question.
I just wanted to point out, because I don't know if it'll matter for your totals, that on the, I was looking at the salary statements specifically for part-time on everything, because that's one of the things that we have to check in HR. And on the deputies, for the rate, she's asked for $120 per case, and we're currently paying for $125. So if you've used the $120 per case, you're gonna be short on that. So that needs to be probably changed. I'm assuming we're not giving them a $5 cut per case.
Paying at 125 now?
120. They get 120 to go out on a call.
So we're
They
gonna
pay
reduce
20.
it by
Well,
5?
This is what she's saying.
Go ahead.
She's saying it
We
should be
currently
120.
pay $125 per case.
No,
That's what your current salary statement says for 2018.
120.
Well, but what you're paying, what she's saying is you have $5 more per case approved.
For this year.
If you're not billing
$5
it.
more per case approved.
Didn't we have,
For next
we had
year.
that discussion last year.
Yeah, we did.
So you could be billing at 125 is what Shirley's saying.
How many cases are we talking?
Then I made a mistake on the salary statement.
Well, no, we discussed that last year, and there may have been some confusion on what we actually landed on. But
$11.90 is what pays the deputies.
right. I guess Shirley's point is 35 enough?
It has been.
Okay.
And if they go out on a call, they get the 120. If they just take a call from a hospital or a nursing home and they don't go out on it, then it is only $25. If they die in the emergency room or unwitnessed at home, but it's medically documented why they passed away, then they get the 25.
Okay.
So we want to leave everything the way it
Well,
is right now?
I have one question. If you look at that training line, 3210, it requested 30,000 this year, it was 30,000 last year. We've spent actual 3354,
Yeah, look at that.
and then, excuse me, 4,500 as of August. And historically, we have, 16, 14, why 30 this year?
I did not go to Seattle, nor did one of my deputies. The national conference is expensive.
So you didn't go to that this year?
I would really like to keep training the way it is. If we have to cut something, I would be willing to take a salary decrease.
Well, do you have wiggle room on the part-time?
Yeah, it looks like we've got probably about 10,000 wiggle room in the part-time. 1130, based upon where we are.
Okay. Take it down to
We'll
30.
take the 50 to
Go to
40.
Seattle?
Does that work,
Okay.
Donna?
Yeah.
We budgeted 30,000 for this year for training, and yet we haven't even spent 4,000. Why should we do it
It will be
again?
spent by the end of the year.
And what's the downside of not going the full, that we doubled it from the years prior? So what's the downside of not budgeting 30 for 19?
Bear in mind that we have got to have so many hours of continuing education to maintain our certification, which is required by law.
So we've not been compliant in years
Oh,
past?
yes, we have.
So we've been compliant at half the price, and now we're 2 years in a row going to spend double
Correct.
to maintain the same compliance. Can we do it more cost effectively?
I'm open to suggestions.
How did we do it before?
We didn't have the number of deputies that we do now.
So we've doubled the number of people we have to train?
Mm-hmm.
We've doubled the number of
Yes.
people we have to train.
What is your total caseload?
I am currently at 250 accepted cases.
That's for this year to date. What's a normal,
I'm probably
What's the
at
past couple years?
200 last year.
you had 200 cases all of last year?
Oh, no, we have way more than that, double that. But at this point in time,
Pay much money.
I was
So you're
at
pretty
200
much on
last
track
year,
for
and we're
that
now
kind of
at
bodies.
258.
So we're a little higher than last year.
Yes. We're always a bit
I got
higher.
sick when I pulled a cat out of a well once.
So it's always increasing, is what you're saying?
Absolutely. And we are now being required, because of the opiate crisis, it's really taken a toll.
You mentioned Seattle. Is that everybody for this training goes to the West Coast?
No, I had to leave somebody behind to run the office.
There's no training available in the Midwest or
Well, I've got
Indiana?
3 today in Indianapolis for a disaster drill. And next week, I will send 5 to a SUDI training.
To where?
SUDI, sudden unexplained infant death.
Where at?
Indianapolis again.
But the Seattle, that was just a national conference that
Yeah.
rotates around
We
different
belong to
locations.
the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, and we're well thought of. I've got 2 of my deputies that are fellows. We're in Baltimore next year. I will have 3 of my deputies presenting on a national level. That is rare for a municipality to do that. They're that good. I'm very, very proud of them.
Now, when they present on a national level, is there some kind of an honoraria, or do they
No.
pay for their travel
No.
or anything? They
No.
get nothing for doing
Nothing.
that?
Nobody does that presents on a national level.
So they're just, they're expected to go, get there on their own, and they get nothing for doing that?
That is correct.
Except a thank you.
That is correct.
Me included.
Now, Donna, we collect, or the health department, I think, collects money for probably a death certificate for the Coroner's Continuing Education Fund.
That's-
What does that money who uses that money?
The Indiana Coroner's Training Board uses that for the initial certification process, which is at no cost to the respective counties.
Okay, so we do get some access to that.
Yes, $2.25 of every death certificate
Okay.
goes into that. It also pays for the June conference, which is always at the Keystone at the Crossing in Indianapolis. Many of our smaller counties do not have the working relationship that this office and all of you have, and for that I am grateful. I can think of one county that's only allowed mileage to get to Indianapolis, and that's it. Forget any further education. And we also share that networking and that education with those other counties.
I just never really seen, I mean, obviously we're not paying the bill when
Yeah.
they're covering that stuff, but I just wondered because it seems like we're sending them quite a bit of money, and yet we're still, giving you the travel, the
Yes,
training
you
money
are.
that, so it could be worse if we didn't have that fee.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Are we all clear on the corner?
I don't have any other notes.
Okay, so on 11:30, take it back to 40? Okay. Thank you for everything else.
Thank you,
And
Donna.
and talk about that per case rate with Shirley.
I
Figure
will.
that out.
I've been underpaying them, obviously.
And that is a maximum rate though, too, on that, on the
Right.
salary statement, so we don't have to pay that, what it states.
Right.
Tima?
For the record, when I was a deputy coroner, we got $25. Not more than 25.
Ooh.
So you want to go back to that?
Yeah, Donna, we have a new volunteer.
No, thank you.
Smoky works, Chief.
All right.
Emergency management, I don't have any cuts. It's fairly a flatline budget. And half of three salaries are reimbursed by the state.
The 40.
So 3 out of 4 are reimbursed at 50%.
Yes.
And except for salary changes, it's all flatline.
Anything else on Tippecanoe emergency?
And that reimbursement is salary only. It's not.
Right.
Yeah, so it's, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Smoke. We're going to go with the,
Sheriff and the
Sheriff. Wait a minute.
page 24.
Okay. County Sheriff.
Good afternoon, Sheriff.
Good afternoon.
Over the years, folks, we've talked about the long-range plan for the Sheriff's Department. Included in this budget are, under full-time employees, are 4 jailers, 2 road deputies, 1 communications officer,
And a bailiff?
Dispatcher.
and a bailiff, yeah.
Bailiff.
Courthouse. Couldn't read my own scribbles. So there are 8 positions there, plus, as we discussed earlier, we dealt with the part-time cook
Yes, yes. to
position
help
this
us.
morning earlier, so.
Yes.
So that's why you see a big increase in proposal under full-time there, plus those are also in there at 5%, is that correct?
5% increase in pay, yes.
For everybody or just the merit?
Merit.
It's the
Just
merit.
the merit.
Why? Well, if you don't mind.
Equalization.
Yeah, and I do have a short presentation by each of the division leaders, and that way it gives you a better understanding and ability to ask questions in that. And of course, one thing I kind of like make sure that we all are aware, because you see the courts coming in, and you see the prosecutor's office coming in, the public defenders coming in, and all of their budgets obviously reflect the dramatic increase in requests for funding. Well, think about it. Where does all that start? It starts with law enforcement. So with the law enforcement end of it, we are getting inundated with the type of calls, the volume of calls, the nature of the calls, and the seriousness, and so forth. So just real quickly, I'm going to have each division leader come up and give you a short information about that, and then we'll all be available for questions or comments as needed. So Chief, if you'd like to come up and talk about the quality of the pay. and so forth.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, so the first page you have in front of you there is a comparison of salaries of local law enforcement agencies. We came to you last year asking for an increase and got it, and it's greatly appreciated. As you can see there, our deputies are still the lowest paid deputies in the county, the local agencies. Any questions on that? So I'm glad you asked the question, why? Why do we need to give them a 5% raise? Well, if you look at some of the stats on the second page, you'll see that this agency is the second busiest police department in the county by quite a bit. More calls for service, more case reports. The reason I put Hartford House interviews in there is those are very lengthy. We had 202 last year. By stats, 78% of those involved sexual abuse. 16% of them involved physical abuse. Those are really lengthy cases, and they're hard to work, and they take a lot of man hours. And we have a lot of them. And Bob, what did you say we're up to this year? 102. We already have 102 this year. So they're a steady decline, or a steady increase. So we need to increase their salaries so we can stay competitive with the other agencies. The other reason is they've earned it. It's hard for me, and I can't tell you how many times I've been asked this question, why do we get paid less than other local officers? The other thing to consider is, you know, I've worked at two agencies, Lafayette and Sheriff's Department. Lafayette had a greater volume, but at the Sheriff's Department, we got 505 square miles. You can make an argument this is more dangerous than working in the city. Because the standard used to be in Lafayette when the sheriff and I worked there, hang on for a couple minutes and somebody will be there to help you. You're in Clarksville or Montmorency, it isn't going to be 2 minutes. You're going to have to hang on. And lastly, but certainly not least, is we got to stay competitive in the hiring process. Do we really want deputies we're hiring by the lowest bidder? And that's what it comes down to. Our applicants know who pays what. And why should I work at the lowest paid one? So that's what we're up against with salaries. Questions about that?
We also don't want to be, that number 4 goes to, we don't want to be the training ground that, you know, you lose them as soon as you get them on the road.
And to speak to that, we do have a contract with our new hires. And I went over this with Doug, where for 3 years, if they leave, they owe us money within the first 3 years.
When did that come into?
Was it 15?
So that covers some of that.
Yeah. It covers the training, what we invested in them.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of prorated. If they leave in 1 year, obviously they owe more than if they leave in year 3.
Okay, well, that,
We will get money back if they leave, and they all sign that and know that.
oh, that's good. So that does answer some of that.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Lieutenant or Captain Lee.
Well,
Good afternoon.
Hello.
This is my first time. Captain Saxon usually sit up here in front of you guys, but I just want to speak a little bit about the jail. It's been a whirlwind 9 months for me. It is an ever-growing animal down there. So some of the information I pulled out is in 2004, from a salary statement I found, we had 51 full-time corrections staff. In 2018, we had 53 full-time staff. So that's 2 people over that number of years. Since 2013, our book-in numbers were 6,852. Last year, they're 8,075. We're in pace for 8,996 this year. Our workload is increasing dramatically, and we're keeping the same number of employees. The coroner spoke about the opioid epidemic that's going on is increasing our numbers in the jail. Not only is it just increasing the numbers in our jail, it's increasing the number of mental health cases we have, detoxification problems we have. These people are being more and more violent with our corrections staff every day. It is not uncommon that we have 1 to 2 fights every day in our jail, and sometimes it involves our corrections staff. For pure safety reasons, we need to increase the number of the staff that we have. Our guys are doing everything they can to keep themselves safe, and as well as keep the inmates safe. But I think it's important that it's time that they get some help. We also have, this year alone, I don't think we've had it ever before, we've sent three different times we've sent corrections officers to the hospital for unknown exposure to a substance inside of our jail. When that happens, it shuts our jail down. Not only does it shut our jail down because of the manpower issue, but now we also have mental health issues on our own employees. It is getting worse and worse inside of our jails by the clientele that we have, and just absolutely we need more manpower to combat that.
Do you want to mention to them about the state jail report about being non-compliant?
The 2018, we just received our 2018 jail inspection. And in that report, in 2014, there was a jail study done, staffing study, and it shows that we were significantly lower than where we should be at. They have, for a minimum of 59 custody staff members. Right now, we're sitting at 50 custody staff members. And he has marked us as non-compliant in trying to keep up with that, with the jail study that they did in 2014.
What would be your request? More money or more help?
More help. The staff that I've spoken to, sure, everybody wants more money, but they want more help.
No, you deserve more money. I personally feel that way.
And I believe for the remainder of the year, all the schedules for the corrections officers, the jail deputies, there's not one day left for anybody to sign up to take a day off. It's filled already. And
we work that way every single day of the year. We have a minimum of 10 people that we have to have on staff. Every day of the year, we have 2 people off. That's just scheduled off on holidays and vacation days. This month alone, one shift is working with 8 people every day of the month without paying overtime. From FMLA, one person being not employed with us anymore, and 2 people on military leave. So we're at a breaking point. Every day of the year, we're going below minimums.
The 80,000 that's in there for part-time, how is that split? Is that?
we have up to 4 for corrections officers, jail deputies. We also have for dispatcher. We are able to use that part-time money in several areas, and as well as the cook we talked about this morning. We'll be able to use that, but you can tell by the needs that we have, that's going to go away really quick without adding the full-time individuals in the jail deputy position.
Well, that's a $20,000 increase over 18. Just wondering how many of those requested positions that you have asked for could be filled out of
we do. We keep those filled. Right now in the last month, we've had some unexpected departures from our department that typically we do, and it helps us a great deal getting those individuals in at part-time to get them trained and be ready to go fill in full-time once that need is there and that opportunity is there. But no, we maximize our ability to use the part-time positions.
And of the full-time positions that is showing in there of the $4.5 million, are all of the positions you have asked for in that number?
Yes, the salary statement included the 8 new full-time positions.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And can you review those again? You had
Yes.
4 jailers.
4 jailers,
2
2
bailiffs.
merit deputies, a bailiff, and a dispatcher. And to speak a little bit more about the merit deputies, Captain Ruley, if you'd like to.
Thanks.
On my health insurance.
Sheriff, can I ask you a question while we're passing this around? And I apologize, I don't have my my 5-year plan, I think,
Yes.
that you presented to
Yes.
us. Is this in line with that plan, or is this?
Minimally, yes. We're still 30-plus positions short, and I know it's a whole nother long conversation, but The presentation Bob gave to us a few months ago about raising the local income tax is imperative for our community to have, because obviously that would mean $2 million going toward public safety. And I know our department alone could use a big majority of that just to get towards where we need to be as a department, because it's not going away. And like I say, you can hear it from the courts, the prosecutor's office, the public defenders, the medical professionals. It's here, and we need to have the manpower to safely do it, not only for our personnel, but obviously for the public as well.
Thanks.
Good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Terry Ruley. I'm the supervisor over the patrol division. We're on a 12-hour rotation shifts, 4 shifts, 2 days, 2 nights. Also the courthouse security officers and animal control, and a multitude of other things that extend from those. The document I handed you there is an extension of the 5-year plan that Sheriff Richard developed and handed in 2016 to start for 2017. And that was a request for 2 officers, 2 patrolmen each year. Chief Deputy Hartman also did some study, and my statistics here are updates of his documentation he turned in 2016. So I'm here to communicate the need for the 2 deputy positions that are needed on the road for 2019. The 2014 census that was used in the documentation by Chief Deputy Hartman, Tippecanoe County had 183,000 population then. We deducted Lafayette's population, the West Lafayette City, along with the Purdue students living on campus, and that's where we came up back then, 2014, 65,729 citizens in the jurisdiction of the Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Department. Jump forward to 2017 U.S. Census estimates. I stress these are estimates. Tippecanoe County population has increased to 190,587. We deducted Lafayette's 72,000 and the West Lafayette population and Purdue students of 46,000. That gave us 71,928 citizens in the jurisdiction of the Sheriff's Department today. So right now the population served by the Sheriff's Department, 71,928. So if we subtract those 2 differences, 2014 population from 2017, 2018, we've had an increase in our jurisdiction out in the county of 6,199 from 2014 to 2017. So this population increase is approximately 9.4% out in the county. So we've added 4 new deputy positions for 2017 and 2018. Those were, greatly appreciated, and we certainly need more, but those positions are greatly appreciated when they were granted. So we went from 52 deputies to 56, what we have today. So with the 4 new deputies over those years, that's a 7.1% increase. So we can see the population increase is higher than our patrolman increase. Right now, so the statistics are kind of skewed with, we have 56 officers right now. We have 3 deputies that are in the field training program right now. 2 of them have completed the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, graduated. They're in the training program, and as soon as they complete, they'll be released on their own. We currently have 1 in the academy now who graduates the last week of September. he'll have to go through the entire field training program because he had no experience or training prior to going. But I shouldn't say he was in the jail and learned a lot of that. And then we have one deputy that we hired lastly that is scheduled to go to the academy last week of September into October. And that officer, it'll be 15 weeks. So it takes about a year from start to finish to get someone fully trained. So the statistics and ratios here I've been using is from the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. And their studies are on the number of officers there should be per 1,000 citizens. So using FBI national statistics, that was for 2014, they had 3 different models and they're listed there. The first one is per capita by region, and this is in the Midwest. Using the population range of 50,000 to 100,000, they're saying there should be 1.5 officers per 1,000 citizens. Using the Midwest model of 1.5 officers per 1,000 citizens, do the calculation, we should have 107 deputies on the department. And then there's another ratio, the nationwide, 2.3 officers per 1,000. That'd be 165 deputies, and now we're kind of getting out of control here. But and then there's county agencies nationwide with an average of 2.6 officers per 1,000 citizens. And there you're up to 187 officers. But there's the calculations and ratios from the FBI. So in 2014, the Sheriff's Department was serving a population of 65,279 citizens with 52 sworn officers. And that ratio was 0.8 deputies per 1,000 citizens. So below the 1.5 per 1,000. In 2017 and 18, we've now been serving approximately 71,000 citizens with 56 sworn deputies. Again, I know those are in training in the academy. But using that calculation of 56 deputies, we've gone down a 0.1% from 0.8 to 0.7. So we've actually slipped back. So just some of the points I want to highlight. Tippecanoe County is a large county in the state of Indiana. It's not the largest, but it's 503 square miles, along with the size of it is the population. It's heavily populated. One of the biggest factors affecting our patrol coverage and keeping the county safe is, no questions asked, are having to pull officers off the road to sit with inmates that have been admitted to the hospital for medical reasons. We just had, if you follow the media, we had this the gentleman who allegedly committed arson at Von Tobel's. We sat on him 5 days in a row at the hospital. We need officers on the road, not babysitting in the hospital. And with the increased violence across the nation and our schools, we've asked our officers to try and get inside the schools and make their presence known. Just start a call for service and get out and just walk through the hallways. Talk to the students, talk to the teachers, make yourself known. And we've gotten a huge positive feedback from TSC staff thanking us for our officers just stopping on through when they were available to do so. I personally, over the patrol shifts, I receive complaints on a regular basis, speeding vehicles, you name it, in the county, all over the county, south, north, east, west. I do my best that I can get officers there to address those traffic violation concerns. And there's many. Right now we have the Klondike Road project, which has caused some road closure. And we're now receiving complaints from people in the Green Meadow subdivision. There's speeding vehicles, delivery trucks, going through there. So that's one of our new areas that we have to address and be proactive in. So. I don't want to bore you with any more statistics because I have a lot, but transportations, I'll just give you these real quickly. If you need copies, I have them for everyone. But in 2017, for transports, that these are all road deputies. This isn't transport officers or anybody else. 2017, we had 320 hours in transports. This year, we're at 172. Prisoner detail hours, 1,390 in 2017. In 2018, we're at 1,425 and climbing. EDO, emergency detention order and mental transports, we had 261 hours in 2017. We're at 234 this year. I'm sure we'll surpass that. And medical problems where officers transported in 17 was 575 hours. And 2018, we're at 423 and climbing. So as you can see, our need for additional patrolmen is greatly needed. 2 we got in the past 2 years was greatly appreciated. So. Yes.
Yeah, just a comment. With Purdue having a record number of students on campus this year, I think it's about 43,411, which is not included in this number. So there is a huge increase. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Okay, as you can see, as we go on through these presentations and information, it's truly a need. You know, those 8 positions, it's not even being satisfactorily answered to give us those 8 positions. It's just going in the right direction, because not only for the safety of the personnel, the staff, the safety of the community, this is the direction that we need to go. We have to be able to serve our community safely. And we have for decades not grown the department with our community, the population, and the criminal activity. Major, would you like to speak a little bit about dispatch hours?
Thank you.
Have we budgeted for how many this year, this budget?
This is just to piggyback off of Captain Rulli in terms of population increase and everything else. We compared with Lafayette Police Department, who have essentially double the amount of communications officers. But as you look at the calls, it's virtually the same. In addition to that, Lafayette has responsibility for Lafayette Fire Department and their police officers. We have responsibility for all the EMS for Ts and dispatching them. In addition, we have all the volunteer fire departments throughout the county, and then of course our police officers too. Our people are just inundated with calls. We'll have 2 people in there and you can't go in and begin to talk to them because they're on the phone constantly. They have calls holding. The calls will roll over to Lafayette Police or will roll over to West Lafayette Police or to Purdue. We desperately, desperately need one more dispatcher. We currently have 2 part-time allocated. We'd be more than happy to eliminate those and have convert them to full-time so we can cover the very busy times of the day, like from 2 to 10, things like that. So we very much appreciate your consideration as far as an extra, or not an extra, but an additional dispatcher.
Are you saying you've got enough money in there in terms of part-time? 2 part-time positions that you could eliminate to fund it? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we wouldn't need those. I don't know what the figure is for our, I'm sorry, I don't have that figure for what we've paid so far in part-time this year, just for dispatch. I apologize, I don't have that.
That's not a problem.
It was just under 36,000 at the end of June.
There you go.
Bob may have it here.
Is that all,
Yeah,
for all
August.
part-time or just, is it for all part-timers or for just for?
This was.
We just have all part-time.
All part-time. So it was 35.7, 35.8 at the end of June and 41.5 at the end of August. So that's 69%.
Of 60,000.
Of 60,000.
A lot of that goes to, frankly, goes to the jail. A lot of it does. In addition to that, part of our problem is hiring people. To get qualified people for dispatch is extremely hard. That haven't used drugs, that are just qualified. Therefore, when we try to hire part-timers, we're spinning our wheels. We can hire just one good person and then keep up on that.
4 bail deputies, 1 courthouse
Well,
security, 1 communication.
whether or not you have enough money there, you're saying you could combine 2 part-times into 1 full-time would cover the need. I think as we review this, you know, I think they state a good case for, you know, they get to handle everybody, and the courts get, you know, the results of their work, and then they get them back. So, so they're dealing with people on both ends of the spectrum.
And you know, when you make that statement about how we deal with, who the prosecutor deals with, who the courts deal with, the public defenders deal with, then our deputies and our department is expected, and we do, be proactive to prevent crime.
So with all this request, what's the bottom line of the total extra revenue or that cost? I mean,
Bob, do you have that?
Well, the total cost?
Yeah, I mean, you got like nine individuals, right?
Well, eight
You got some
full-time.
jailers, 1 or 2 dispatch.
One dispatch, one bailiff,
And 2 deputies.
2 deputies, and 4 jail deputies.
4 correction officers?
Yes.
So it's 8.
8 total.
So what's the total cost?
With benefits and probably about $500,000.
Yeah, probably at least that. Now, we did get a revised budget from them. There was some difference between their salary statement that they sent in and their budget, so we do have some adjustment, even with the request. If we give them the full request, we still have some adjustments, so.
And then I'd like to make another point there when you look at our budget, because we really did try to be very conservative and looking at our expenditures through the general line items. But one thing that kind of is jumping out at us is that $50,000 of our food money, and actually it goes non-food money, is being taken out of our location and feeding community correction participants. You know, so that's a big chunk of it right there, is between the food and the non-food cost to supply community corrections participants with their meals.
But bottom line.
Right, I know, but when you look
it's a wash.
at, when you look at it on paper, you need to realize, even though it's shown under the sheriff's department cost, it truly is not staying under our roof.
Right, but it doesn't.
Well, it's, you know,
It doesn't help the total bottom line to move it from one pocket to the other.
No, and I get that for the county, but I'm just wanting to make sure everybody up there is aware of that. That's a significant cost, $50,000 a year, not to mention the manpower hours.
Well, if these stats are true, and I know they surely are, no question, it's just out of balance.
It is. And like I said, it's not been done just in the last couple of years. It's been decades of not being able to grow with the time.
So commissioners got any insight on this? Any feedback? Tracy?
Back to the community corrections thing, my understanding is that it does cost the sheriff to put those meals together and send them over. but there is money that's set aside in the community corrections budget that is given back to the county. So it is, again, it is a wash. It may not actually come back to his budget, but it.
Right, he's spending it out of his budget, but he
Yeah.
doesn't get it
But we have a
back.
revenue lined up.
The county's not at a loss, basically. I'm gonna share some of my thoughts, if you'll just indulge me for a few minutes here. It is, we're at a tough time. There are no questions that there are needs that we have put off in the past that we probably honestly can't put off anymore. We have to be smart about what we do. And this is not the first time that we've been asked to do this. You may recall programs from over the years where we did creative things to increase the amount of, the number of deputy hours that we have on the road. Our school resource officer program was a fine example of that. Put deputies in the local schools so that they can handle some of the caseload there, build those relationships, and do what school resource officers are supposed to do, reduce the amount of time that a road deputy has to spend handling normal school-type issues. Many years ago, we hired additional transport officers. We have a large transportation group now that I think is it 5 people? 5 or 6 people, I forget what the number is, that transport prisoners to and from the hospital, to and from court, to and from the prisons, so that we don't have deputy sheriffs tied up doing non-essential police function type work. And again, I think we're at a time now that we may be able to do the same thing by boosting our corrections staff. I'll draw your attention to a report from 2014 that said in 2014 we needed at least 6 more corrections officers. We hired 2 last year. Approved it for this year in the budget, increased by 2. The sheriff has given us a request for, I believe it's 6 more. 4 more this year. Again, it would make sense that if you're going to fill positions, those 4 are absolutely critical. But it does make more sense to have a corrections officer, if you will, babysit somebody in the hospital. They're trained. Some people they typically deal with, as opposed to having a sheriff's deputy who really should be out on the road performing essential functions and tasks there. My take is that clearly the situation with the corrections officers is critical. I asked the sheriff to try to prioritize this, and I understand the position that he's in. These are all important, and it's probably difficult to take things that are important to you and try to choose one over the other, but I understand as council members, you absolutely have to make that decision with the best information available. From my seat and my history, corrections absolutely critical. A request for a bailiff, and there's no question with what's going on at the courthouse and the 111 building being much busier than we ever anticipated that it would be. When we came on with that, with 111, I believe we did basically a full-time and a part-time. We're not getting by with the part-time. We're asking for a full-time. Would middle ground on that possibly be to convert that part-time position to full-time, instead of keeping the part-time money and doing a full-time, do the conversion, and again, look at another year of data and see if we need to do something different next year. That would be one possibility. Communications, absolutely no doubt. We have one of the busiest PSAPs in the county. The number of calls don't go down. They continue to increase. That is a position that you don't want to, if you miss something, catastrophic results in there. They're good people. They have a difficult job, and clearly we support increasing the staff there. The deputies, as I was leaving office, and for my last couple of years in office, the agreement that we had with the council was we knew that we were behind, and we knew we could never get there in 1 year. The idea was let's do this over a period of time, and we've had a process where we've done 2 each year. I don't know what comes next year. You're going to have a new sheriff. I don't know if that's really it's not going to change numbers, but it may be that again, there are some other creative ideas out there. I have strong feelings about the other 3 that I mentioned. The deputy situation, surely we don't have enough. We're going to have to answer that call sooner or later. So that's my thoughts in about 5 minutes, and I'd entertain any questions you might have.
So you're essentially agreeing with the proposal that we need all
data. Yeah, I think we're there. And I am deeply concerned with the fact that we have a jail study that is now old, that says that we were understaffed before, and we know that we're understaffed in the jail. and we're having DLZ do the study now, I'd be very surprised if they don't come back and say the same thing, that we need to do something. And let's step forward, but let's find ways that, again, I think the idea about, if you overhire on corrections officers and get them involved in some of the things that deputies are doing right now, get those deputies back out on the street, it's a win-win. I think most people would agree with that.
How does this affect our jail certification, among other things?
Well, it's one of those steps where it can become more severe and consequential as we move forward to be non-compliant. And so it's one of those things where you're going to see, and obviously when you get a lawsuit that's saying because of staff not present or someone's injury, you're going to be paying millions for that. And it's why not be proactive and get us right-size our department. And I know 8 positions may sound like a lot to you, but like I say, they're not wants, they're truly needs. And all we have to accept, the council has to accept, is that yes, you may not get it down to the 1 point whatever million you wanted to cut. You may only be able to cut, $750,000, but that's okay. We have put a valid effort into right-sizing the Sheriff's Department for the public safety of Tippecanoe County residents. And that's what, is it more important to you to say that you have X number, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or put it towards public safety?
Well, let me be sure I'm clear here. That's 2 deputies, 1 bailiff, 1 dispatcher, 4 corrections officers.
Yes.
And if for the sake of moving forward, one of those had to fall on the sword today.
None would be. I mean, you've got to think of the community, you've got to think of the safety, and you've got to think of the safety of our personnel. If it was you going into that jail, and as you guys have been invited to go to a court, I invite any and all of you to come down to the jail, go back into the jail with the inmates and see what they're dealing with the inmates throwing feces on them, throwing urine on them, and being able just to non-compliance, and them coming in, and that's their job for 12 hours.
Oh my God.
Think of what they're going through.
Oh my God.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Sheriff. All right, we're in there. One more question, Sheriff. That was in there at 5%, right?
Yes.
That was back to
5% merit.
Okay.
These 911s, these calls, we have 2 dispatch. What's LPD? Or is that transferred over or what? I mean, the calls are almost the same. Average number of, oh, wait a minute, that's not 911.
No, that's dispatch. Well, it is.
Average number of calls per day.
Well, let's look at the minimum staffing between Lafayette Police, LPD, and us. That says it all. They have 5 to 7 minimum answering phone calls. We only have 2.
And have the similar number of
And a
phone
similar
calls.
number of calls.
Yeah.
Correct.
They have twice as much staff, or
We
3
get
times.
all the 911 calls for medical, all of them, and dispatch the ambulances. And that's turned into a big deal anymore. It's much more than it used to be.
I think we need to take a break.
All right.
Thanks, Waiter.
Can we take a break?
My next question is for Shirley. You just sent us an update from our friends at Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy. How does all of this fit into that?
Okay, so this information is as new as it can get. I literally got it yesterday afternoon. So just the council and the commissioners and personnel committee have heard about it. We asked for them to do another updated salary study, and we are behind. Now, the averages for the poll merit to get to market, they say it would be 2.16%. That's from the current 2018. So if you do a 5, that's going to put you above the market on that. Given the other numbers that they have, with the non-merit poll being 5.88% behind, LTC 8.67% behind, PATS 5.75% behind, Comets 5.56% behind, Exec 3.17% behind, Prosecutor Child Support Division 11.18% behind, Criminal Division 13.74% behind, and the same with Public Defender. Average on our SOs is 3.39% behind. So probably the reason why the poll merit is only the 2.16 is because the difference in the percentages that they got for 2018 that the rest of the county didn't. So that's why that one would be only 2.16.
All right, and there's a list of comparables?
Yes.
Several counties and several
Well,
cities.
For when we ask them to do a salary study, they look for like-size counties, cities, towns, try to get the variables, not just from Lafayette, West Lafayette, and us, but the ones that are involved in the study that they did the comps with were Allen County, Bartholomew County, Benton County, Boone County, Delaware, Elkhart, Hamilton, Hendricks, Johnson, Kosciuszko, Lake, Madison, Monroe, St. Joe, Vanderburgh, Vigo, as well as the city of Anderson, city of Bloomington, city of Lafayette, city of Muncie, city of Terre Haute, city of West Lafayette. And then they also took numbers from the Association of Indiana Counties, BLR Compensation, Bureau of Labor Statistics, ICMA Salary and Compensation Survey, IACT, Indiana Gateway for Government Units, and then their database that they have of all of their clients, which they serve a number of the counties. Out of the 92, I think they serve like 75.
So Lafayette and West Lafayette are included there along
They are
with
included
16
there.
counties. So.
Right.
Mr. President,
Yes.
can we take a break?
We're going to, once we settle this up, we're going to let the county jail just set right now. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
We need to recess? Any further discussion on the
I'd rather we do
the issues with the sheriff's department? We don't have to build on those, right?
So what does a 5% proposal in the budget do?
Well, it's going to put them a little over 3% above what the current market is for all of those entities.
So does this study tell us that the local agencies are above average statewide?
If we
Is that what
went
that
with the
means?
local agencies on our whole county, all of the departments would be way out of whack because they're definitely above us. The two cities pay a lot more than
So we're
the
saying
counties.
the agencies on our sheet here are above average among the comparables statewide, among those 16 counties.
The agencies are on there, they looked at all of these counties, cities, and agencies, and then they did the average, the median, what the market would be. And that's based on, like I said, the counties and the cities. This is all of them. When you're taking a study of 3 to 4 entities and looking at the average, it's definitely going to be higher than when you're taking this and you're looking at all the different counties with their sizes and the populations and everything. So this is going to give you a more general. If you're going to do the comparative with the two cities, it would probably be that we're farther than that, these other numbers off the mark for the rest of the employees as well.
Well, obviously, some of them are in double figures. So.
Right.
Yeah, and I'd just like, sorry about that. I'd just like to
Look at that, her hair
add,
turned white when you scared her.
the 5% is 2019. The other departments, Lafayette, West Lafayette,
Are 18s.
They're going to get an increase, and that's automatically going to take us from being with them to right again down below. But obviously, we're making great progress, and we're getting where we need to be with this. It's just going to have to be done over a period of time. We get that.
Bob, what's the time?
I saw him there. I just the eyes in the back of your head aren't working. So.
One other comment that I just feel like I'm compelled to make, and that's for those of you who've been on the council for several years. Remember the 2008 study that we tried to implement by 2009 before everything kind of, swirled downward?
And then we had people on hold that didn't
Yeah,
get.
we had people on hold, and then what ended up happening was the poll merits were frozen for a while, and, I'm just concerned about that. Same type of situation again.
Right.
For what it's worth.
Bob, what's the timeline, again, for the low public safety tax that we talked about earlier?
Well, I think we're really past the time as far as to get it to start. We could not get it to start January 1st of next year. But obviously, if you want to pursue that we need to have that in place before we get a new court. But that is something we absolutely cannot afford with the current setup. We have to have some new funds, and you can't raise property taxes for a new court. But, I mean, it's too late to do anything for public safety. I would say, I believe October 1st, this is just from my memory, that October 1st is an important date to have it started January 1st. I believe you can start either in January 1st or it is maybe like October 1st. You can start a tax in mid-year at least.
It'd be October 31st is what the deadline for January 1st is.
But that would have to be the whole income tax council, and when we're now the middle of September, to have all the other, because I think they would all have to.
We'd have to pass it by, we pass it in October, and then they have 30 days to take action on it, then you're into November.
Which we're too late then for January 1st. But
Then it would start.
it almost seems
Then
like
we
we
would
need to
start in
be, if you want to do that, we need to be looking for a starting date of January 1st of 2020.
Well, if they pass it after October 31st, then it'd become effective October 1st of the same year.
Of 19.
Of 19, right.
Yeah, okay. But then you would not realize dollars for a year.
At least. That's the way I understand it from
Okay.
the state auditor's office. Yeah.
Okay. All right, break. I got it.
Okay, let's take a break, 2:45, and be back at 3 o'clock.
All right, stand, stretch.
Obviously.
Well, you got two of them, yeah. Well,
Not unless you got $1.22 million you're ready to fork over.
Budget, we're halfway there.
So we zeroed out to
We're a lot closer, right?
If we did 4 jail officer
raise. Maybe we need to just buy a
It's got like a phone call, maybe it's an officer.
A friend who's heading maybe a run or something like that, and he got attacked by coyotes last night.
well, it's Hey, I sent you an email tonight, 8:30, just call me on my cell phone.
5% increase.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They do that in Indianapolis Airport. They have that flying out there.
Yeah,
They hire a guy that do that. His goats go in and mow the lawn.
If I need it, I'll.
I don't
July, like this is what we, are you talking about the August one that she just turned in? Because this is kind of what we use. And so, are you saying the August one was higher, or are you talking about?
Yeah, but I mean, if.
Give me email.
Okay, and then that would be for the next year's sheriff retirement.
So
for 20.
this is a quote from, yes.
Because we use these numbers, and we just use that money for next year. Well, starting August of 17 through July of 18 is what we would use for 19. That's how, and it's always matched up with what we've had in the appropriation.
You may have been thinking about something else.
I'm not really wanting to mention Randy and
Yeah, no, we've always done this one, I think, because it's the most current that we can come up with.
Send me that, all of those.
Yeah.
Oh, I know
It is August. This, I don't know you exactly.
This is 35 feet in here.
Oh, wow.
This was fine down below.
Doesn't say who it is, but it's somebody else.
Well, we knew they're all borrowed.
Right. Well.
So my question was, should LPC pay for all of this up front, and then we bill them, so that we get the money about the same time as we get the check? Or,
And I don't know, 17, when we had those really, really low numbers, had something to do with it.
That's what would be easier.
Yeah, because that's what screwed that up. Yeah, that's already happened. But, and now this also, our bill goes up. It's a year delayed from getting new deputies. Actually, we have two new deputies. This is going to go, our total bill's going to go up to 20. We know we're 19. That's not going to change. And I did make one other mistake, and I just decreased the general fund $6 and put it into another little pot.
You can haul away at the end, but just to let me see what they do.
I don't know the hazard. I guess that was my concern was I thought it would be doing some quiet if it has been formed.
I'm super.
Yes.
That's who needs to see that. Enjoying yourself back here? Or you working on, you need some more crayons or anything like that? Or?
Well, I said something to him about certified forester.
You're not going to do
I didn't know.
So that was my question. That's what the email's about, and you can think on it, and I knew you were going to be in budget hearings, but Tyler was asking me about spending the money, and I said, you're going to have to think about it.
So it's education, got a long ways to go.
Well, no, he just thought we advised that there hasn't been enough funding in the past. Right, we got tons of
Go up a few feet. Go up a few feet. Depending on what time you Oh, yeah, he's been cranked up about this ever since he was there. Well, because